Good morning to you all. Welcome to our Monday morning session here at Namaste Village. So happy to have you with us, and this is going to be a fun session. I think we're going to go in a few different directions. But I wanted to begin by just sharing something that I just wrote one little paragraph as I was sitting here during the meditation. So we'll begin with this. God is one, and that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. In fact, when you truly know this, and rather than just believe that that's true, then the tumblers of grace fall into place. And then you will see what can be seen and know what is forever known by God. And then all of your ideas, all of your concepts about what you think God is or who God is or any of that, that all dissolves. It fades, replaced by the eternal one standing right in front of you. Now, the eternal one standing right in front of you. That's what we're going to focus on. That's the only thing we need to focus on, the eternal one. And now that may be a person, that might be a one, someone, or it might just be the experience of oneness itself. But whatever it is, God is one, and that's all we need to know. So in light of this, I've discovered which heresy I fall most cleanly into. I'm often accused of being a heretic. And so I've done a little bit of research to say, okay, well, of all the early church heresies, which is the one that best describes me? And the answer is pantheism. If you know anything about pantheism, pantheism is what you just heard, really, that all reality is the expression and the experience of the divine, that God is all and all is God. Okay. Now, the other two possibilities that were really thrown around back centuries ago were the idea of, well, the church's position, which is the God is one and we are separate from that one. Okay, right. And then, of course, we have the Cathars and we have the Bogomils and Rosicrucians that followed a path of dualism. Okay, a dualistic religion where there is the God of light and the God of darkness. There is the God of heaven and then the God here that basically is keeping us in hell, locking us in the prison that we often talk about. So both of these ideas, it's incredible that we're always trying to come up with an idea or a concept of what God is, once again, to believe something rather than to know, instead of just relaxing into the knowing. Because the more we relax into this, the more we realize there's only one. It's an actual organic awakening into that oneness. So I embrace the fact that I am a pantheist, and I know that there's only one thing going on. Even when you've had a spark of that light, just the tiniest instant of that lightning. It's like being in a dark forest at night and you can't see anything. You can't see the path in front of you. You've gotten off the path, and then suddenly there's a single bolt of lightning. And just for that split second, you see everything and you see the path and you're able to be back on the path and to walk the way. That's what this is like. So we're not expecting, this is so often the case, we're not expecting that one day we're just going to have the single awakened experience, and from that moment on we will be able to be proclaimed by others to be the great enlightened one. That's not likely. It may happen, but I don't think it's more a successive and continual experience of those lightning bolts where every time we get off the path, a bolt of lightning comes and corrects us. That's the guidance. And then we're back on the path. And the further we go on the path, we realize that we never really left anywhere. You've heard me tell the story of that one who is in a great field. He's lost. He doesn't know where he is or where he's going. All he knows is that he has to go home. There's a castle, a kingdom. And he looks and he sees a path leading out of the path into the forest. And he sees a mystic standing there in the path. And he points to it and he says, all you need to do is stay on this path and you will reach your home. And so that one in the field begins the journey. And at first he's running because this is very exciting. He has confidence that if he stays on this path, he'll finally reach his home. But after a day or two, his energy slows, his pace slows a bit, and he begins to jog and then walk, and he starts to look around at the beautiful scenery. Maybe stops and collects a few mushrooms or whatever it might be. And that really slows him down. So, but then he stops eating the mushrooms and he's back on the path. And finally, there comes a moment where he's going slow, but then he comes to an opening in the trees. And in that opening, he looks ahead. It might be a mile or so away, but he sees the castle. He sees home. He knows now. He has moved from the belief or the idea that if I stay on this path, I'll return to the kingdom. Now he knows because he's experienced it. That flash of lightning has shown him the reality. And now he runs with all his might, or she runs with all her energy until she collapses at the gate, finally at home. And as that one stands, they look on the wall of right next to them, and they see a map. And in this map, they see that every part of the journey has been included. The field, the path, every part of the path, the mushrooms, all of it was included. She never really left. And that's the key. You never really left home, heaven, now. But there is a return in our mind. And there is a way of facilitating, of allowing this return to love. So I want to tell you a quick story that illustrates that. I got permission from Ravi to tell this story. So this is a few years ago. I don't remember how long, but Ravi came in one day, it might have been mealtime, and he was very excited. He was very excited about someone that he met. I won't say who, but I'll just say that he was in a restaurant, and in that restaurant was a particular teacher that he had great admiration for, and he was excited. He had a chance to say hello. This is the first time he's met him, and this was a big moment for Ravi. And I was listening, thinking, wow, he sure is putting a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm into having seen or met this particular teacher. And so I asked him, I said, so I said, I don't really understand. Now, if I met Paul McCartney sitting in a restaurant, I might be that excited, but I'm not going to be that excited otherwise. I thought about that, and I've thought about that ever since, because in that moment, I realized that both myself and Ravi were kind of missing the mark, because what we were doing, because what Ravi said, oh, is I much prefer meeting this teacher than Paul McCartney. I was like, what? Paul McCartney was a Beatle. Do you know that? So I'm making one less and he's making one more. And then I'm doing we're both doing the opposite. Lifting one up, putting the other down. You see the fallacy in that? It doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter if it's the greatest guru or teacher, mystic in the world, or a beetle. Whenever we place one above, we're actually placing that one above that one that we sometimes call God. We're lifting them into the state of an idol. Right? To me, I admit it, Paul McCartney is a bit of an idol. And to Ravi in that moment, that particular teacher was an idol, and idols cannot help. There have been many times when I probably have been lifted into that state, put on a pedestal, and then at least I'm smart enough to tell one dirty joke and get off that pedestal as quickly as possible. Because I realize it doesn't do me or anyone else any good to be on a pedestal or to be an idol. So let me tell you the smarter path, and this is the path into that experience that we're calling pantheism, or just the experience of God as one. Do that to everybody. Leave no one out. It doesn't matter if it's a homeless person on the street or the King of England. Be that excited as Ravi was to meet that teacher, or as excited as I might be to meet Paul McCartney in a restaurant. Feel that with everyone. Now, that might be a little tricky if everywhere you go, you're, oh my God. Every moment, every person, oh shit, oh my God. That might be all right. I mean, that might, lift you, but you might want to be subtle. But you can do it in your mind. You can do it in your heart. You can do it in your devotion, because remember, devotion is the key. So yesterday we had this beautiful event down the street called Holy Longing. I don't know, there are 7 or 8 of us who got up and did different songs or presentations, and it was lovely because throughout it all you felt that longing, the longing for one. So feel that longing with each other, knowing that God is one. I'm looking in the back of the room, and if the Course in Miracles lesson is indeed up to date, it says, I am determined to see. It takes that determination to see what can be seen, to know what can be known. So I expect Ravi and each and every single one of you to go out and wherever you are, to see everyone in that same way, to see them as the Christ. And we could use other words, Buddha, whatever, but to see them as that one. Because I promise as you do that, you will be lifted into the state of that one, the state of oneness. In fact, it's the quickest, most useful spiritual tool I can give you. Go out and see everyone as the Christ. This is what all the great saints and mystics have done, have learned. Look at Mother Teresa, who saw every poor person off the streets of Calcutta as the Christ and served them as the Christ. That's all you have to do. Let that be your single spiritual path. And with that, I turn it over to our dear Victoria. Good morning to you, Vicky.
Good morning, Brother James.
1 second.
Good morning, everybody.
Here we go.
Have you got sound?
Yep.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Really, there are many quotes that I saw come across the board, but really what they all said is love is all. Just love all. And I liked your example of how we organically move more consistently into our naturally resurrected, enlightened mind, because it's as simple as turning from fear to love, so that no matter what presents itself to us, instead of reacting the way we have become accustomed to in identifying ourselves as bodies, we turn to love and find, what would love say about this? we turn to the soul, we turn to the spirit. And if we just wait a minute, it's just wait a minute, instead of jumping to the reaction, if we rest for a moment and like a kid, like really wonder, how would love see all this? I wonder. And we wait that moment, it comes through because it's already there. It comes through because that is stronger than the cover-ups that we've had with our body identity, with fear, with believing in the rules of the world and all the rest of it. And what is it, last week or the week before, when we were looking at Chris Martin and Dick Van Dyke. Dick Van Dyke and Chris Martin, they are both great examples of turning to love. He turned to love and said, "Oh, I got a neighbor who's a legend. Let me invite him over for breakfast." And that's how Chris met Dick Van Dyke. And Dick came over, didn't know who he was at the time, found out, and then they became joined in love. And when we turn to love more and more until it's the only thing we do, it's inevitable that we see it everywhere. And until we do see or sense a sense of separation. But it's not a problem if we know how to get the answer, if we know the remedy for this dual vision that we've all kind of bought into in the game of time and space. And the remedy is to look for the oneness. What's it one in everything and everyone? Love, spirit, freedom. And when we look for that, and that's all someone like Dick Van Dyke or Chris Martin did, they look for that flow of love in them. Remember, there was a line Dick said, "I got to do what I love to do, play and be silly. I love to do that." And that he made a life out of playing and be silly because that was his spirit. He turned to that spirit. We do that all the time. We're learning to be consistent in it. Last night or yesterday afternoon, I watched, it's wonderful. I'll recommend it. John Williams, The Music. And it's a documentary and it's on Disney Plus if you have it. And it's this incredibly beautiful documentary of John Williams, who wrote the music for Star Wars and almost everything else you might ever think about. Close Encounters, Stranger in a Strange Land. He wrote music for everything. He didn't care if it was a silly sitcom or it was this big, profound, epic kind of movie. What he did was the same thing. He went into his heart. He went into his spirit. I mean, he was describing, he's now 93 years old, thank God. It's great that he's alive because just like Dick Van Dyke, they're here to be truly helpful. They anchor in an energy of living from your heart. It's that simple. There isn't anyone, Martin Luther King or Dick Van Dyke or Chris Martin or John Williams, that we don't know as someone that is wondrous in one way or another, who hasn't lived from their heart. That's all they did. They lived from their heart. And his producer or someone from Fox or something would send him in and say, "Oh, can you write the music for this?" "Oh yeah, I'll be right back." And he goes and he writes it on the spot. Johnny on the spot. He writes full symphonies in a day. He was so excited to do it. He just couldn't wait to do it because he didn't do it. The love comes through us. And that's what happens. Love comes through us. Vision comes through us. He was so excited. He didn't even realize how widespread all his fame was until he started to see the movies and people showing up at the Hollywood Bowl and all these other places. But it's a wonderful story of a soul living from their heart, not from their head. And we do it every day when we want to. And as we want to only do that with everything, whether our actions look like they're big and they've touched many, or they look like they're small and they've only touched our dog or our cat, it makes no difference. Because communication in reality, in the life of spirit, is always total. It's only communication in time that looks like it's people to people, body to body, one person, 100 persons, 1,000. But it doesn't matter. When we live from our soul, we are singing the song of oneness and love. And we can do it all the time. The trick is to want to do it all the time and to remember that's the remedy, not the old ideas we have of what are remedies. But what does the heart say? What does love say? Because that's really the only answer to everything. And love says, we're all one. Don't worry about it. Just love everybody. See them as only the love that they are. Don't worry what they're acting out as. Don't worry what their script is. That's not who they are. That's just the game figure. Those are little temporary things. And when we activate our vision that comes from love, it activates and it sparks a remembrance, not just in the physical brother or sister or plant in front of us, but through the whole, because we live in the world of the all, not the world of partial breakthroughs of this one or that one. We live in the reality of the all, and we're always communicating that. And finally, the communication of the all is coming to our collective consciousness, and we together are experiencing this kind of resurrection every day. Thank you, Brother James. Thank you, Calico. Thanks, everyone.
Beautiful. Thank you, Vicky. You know, as you were talking about Dick Van Dyke and John Williams, someone else I had a chance to spend some time with was Norman Lear. Norman Lear is 101 years old, by the way. Just another extraordinary example of someone who just lived his passion of producing amazing TV shows that most of us remember. I'm sure Jet doesn't. He's probably never seen All in the Family.
I don't know who Norman Lear is.
You ever seen All in the Family, Archie
No.
Bunker?
No.
We have to catch up a little bit. There are a lot of Archie Bunker. What a character, right? Yeah, and so many TV shows. Oh my gosh. And just spending time with him once again, just the vibrancy of creative life. Because when we live in the experience of created life, we live in the experience of the divine. Because all the divine does is create, extend, and love. That's it. So Calico, why don't you wrap us up?
Oh, wow. I'm still kind of, I've been with Carol all weekend in my mind. And, I was writing her on Telegram and just sending her little thoughts as they come up. And Carol's daughter, came on and said, she's not conscious. And I said, it doesn't matter. For me, because I always communicated on Telegram with Carol, it was the way we did it. So I just continued to do it that way. In fact, I just said goodbye to her. The last thing she did write was one word. She just wrote one word, love. That's it. And, I'm finding myself wanting to cry, but it is not about Carol. It's about so many of the gifts that I feel like I'm learning so late in life. And there's regret with it. And I just need to say that it's not true, but I need to honor that that's what's there for me. I've been a theist my whole life. Religion is not it for me. In fact, one of the things I loved about A Course in Miracles, when it talks about religion, it talks about ego's religion. And, there is no religion. There's no spirituality either. There is only, as Carol said, love. And it's like, however you want to express that. And in most of my life, I didn't know how to express it. I didn't have good examples of love growing up that I could point to and follow. But I do now. And that's the gift is, and I think this is wisdom too, is that I finally am able to know love. And, I always do the oracle in the morning. And this is not by chance. There's only one mind. And once you get into one mind, you don't need words. This was from chapter 25, The Link to Truth. One sentence. And you must see your brother as yourself. Period. And you must see your brother as yourself. And for me, and again, I don't say that I'm any example of how mind works, but for me, my greatest lessons came from me not seeing my brother as myself. That's how I learned. Oh, I don't want to be like them. Oh, I want to be like them, but I don't want to be like them. And so that was really what opened up me to judgment. I could see judgment when I did not want to be like them. Teddy Poppy, perfect example of this. How many years on Facebook? He scared the living bejesus out of me. I didn't want to get to, in fact, I had some very big known Course in Miracles people said, well, keep your distance, Calico, just keep your distance. But I didn't think that's what God was talking about. So I really took on when I see a brother as not myself, that's where I need to move closer. I need to embrace more. I need to bring out the love. And so that's my way. I where it's not as my guidepost for where I need to go to learn. So thank you for this. I just want to say thank you, Carol. Happy trails. I love you.
We're going to go straight into song and close us out. I am you, you are me. We are swamis equally. I see Swami Ravi in a restaurant. I say, oh boy, here is a song. I see Swami Elsa, Swami K9 too. I see all of us Swamis breaking free from the zoo. No one higher, no one lower. We're all on the same wave. No one needs to be redeemed. No one needs to be saved. And when people put me higher, I tell them a dirty joke. Let all of our idols go up in smoke, so that only God remains. It's time to be set free. I'll even have to let go of Sir Paul McCartney.
Thank you. Oh my God. That's extraordinary. Wow, so good. And to that we say, Amen, 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 y punto. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Calico. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Carol, for the brilliant example as she has been to all of us of what it means to love. Amen.
Amen.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a beautiful day.